Okay. So we're
Okay,
back.
we're back. So I
Yes.
think what I was talking about was the reasons for me to kind of invent this tool and look at other things to help my patients. I think that's where we were at,
Yes.
and how it's out of necessity and out of looking at my patients and thinking there is so much more we can do to connect the dots. And I think my logo also is all about connecting the dots and joining all aspects of the human, not just the
Mm.
human body, but the human as a whole. Um, and yeah, I think it's what drives me to also write and to try and put concepts out there in a little bit more of an easy way, for people to understand, which is actually incredibly difficult.
Mm.
It's very difficult to take something so complex and then simplify it and put it into my latest thing. It was a children's book. I
Ah,
don't know if
okay.
you had a chance to see it.
No, yet, not yet.
It's on Amazon, and the printed copies are only with me
Okay.
in my clinic.
Okay.
But it's called Orofacial Myofunctional Therapy: A Journey of Discovery.
Oh, I love
And
it.
yeah,
I'm
and
gonna have to get that for all my little kids. They always read this chiropractor. I have a book about chiropractic in my office, and I like it. I
yeah,
do, but orofacial myology. Oh my gosh, I need this book because I can just imagine all the little ones. They traipse in and they pick up this book and like, "Mommy, what's this?" And then, oh, it's gonna be so good. I love that.
and it's got cartoon characters, and
Hmm.
I've never written a book before. I've written articles, but they have been
Yeah.
for dental hygiene and therapy journals where you are actually, you know, putting across the science behind you're doing
Right.
for your peers. Very different
Yeah.
to talking to little kids. And then midway writing it, I thought, oh my God, this can be very powerful if the adults want to see some data.
Yeah.
And then if clinicians are there who are just don't know about us and don't know about the science behind what we do and the research behind us, also want to look at it. So I put a bunch of research papers at the end of it.
Oh, that's great.
And a
Hmm.
lot of clinicians had a chance to look at it and comments from them as well. And then a couple of organic recipes, one to encourage chewing and one to encourage healing
Hmm.
post trauma in the mouth, including tongue tie
Yeah.
release.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but it's all comes out of that necessity and seeing the
Mm.
patients come, and I was one of them before I started all of this with my own child, and knowing that as a parent, you knock at the door of different practitioners and you hope that someone will hold the answer. And then when everyone gives you different information and you just don't know where to go with it,
Yeah.
I think that being in that, having that experience myself, it made me think differently about what type of service I want to provide. Maybe a little bit like yours, you want to be that connection, you want to be
Mm.
that liaison between all the parts, and you want to put across the information in a different order so the patient can think about, why am I here, why
Yeah.
is this happening to me.
Right. Right.
It's not like
Yeah.
am I going crazy, someone is telling me that
Hmm.
maybe I'm imagining this pain. And I have teenagers come to me who have been given antidepressants, and you think, but you had 4 teeth extracted, you have attractive orthodontics, no one has looked at your mouth breathing and your open mouth posture, and your systems are on fire.
Hmm.
No one has even looked and put the pieces together. Why? Because there is a history that you've been cared for. Each compartment is being cared for,
Yeah.
completely unlinked.
Yeah. Right.
And then they're hoping you to function properly, and you need to do the connections then when you don't know anything about it. Someone needs to kind of piece it together and join the dots for you and put it in front of you in a sequence, in a way that you understand, and then you can take charge of it. And then you can just say, this is my issue. I know when it started, and now I understand. So we do a timeline, my
Mm.
patients. We look at, in utero, did your mom, do you know of any accidents or near accidents or anything that happened traumatic to your mom where you were pregnant, but she was pregnant with you? And then any falls or anything that happened, how was the birth? What happened during the birth? Any little bit of information, and we put it in a little timeline. People forget things like, yeah, I fell off a horse. I just never thought that was relevant to who we're talking. I fell on my head, or, my older sister grabbed me from my ankles and dropped me on the head. That wasn't relevant to them. But, suddenly everything is like beginning to make sense. So it's just putting that information out there for them. And I think often it's more difficult than to give a lecture on what you know already. I can talk for 2 hours to a clinician about things, but try and simplify things is harder. I feel it's harder.
Yeah, I feel that so much when we're talking in that simplifying things. It's like nobody on the planet can't benefit from that, regardless of how much data we know and how much training we have. We need that as providers. But I love what you said. Back to talking about the little ones and the moms and I'm kind of going back to something you said a little earlier, that there's this sense of agency, there's this intuition, this instinct that people have, and then more specifically that moms have, that there's something going on. And I love what you said, because one of my greatest joys is seeing a family come in, a mom come in, and then I hear what they're saying, and I'm like, I think I'm here to help, and I'm here to guide you.
Yes.
But really, and I know you've been told once or twice or 3 times or 4 times by others and yourself that you don't know, but and
Yeah.
so my biggest goal here is to just support what you already know and then provide you with more help, but
And
that
guide them to feel it.
yeah.
Because the one thing is that you have a clinician telling you a lot of things.
Mhm.
You know it, and they're trying to put it in this jargon, amount of jargon that they give them. I tell them, come with me, hold his head.
Mhm. Yeah.
Hold his head, and let's just
Yeah.
sit quiet and you listen. And then
Mhm.
and I said to them, can you see the shoulders relaxing?
Yeah.
Can you
Yeah.
see what's happening to this little body? And then the sight from this little body goes like, and
Yeah.
then she cries, and it's like, I never seen this before. I know he was tense. I knew something was going on, but the chiropractor is doing everything. I don't know what to do with him, you
Mhm.
know. And then you get a phone call a week later, or an email a week later saying, you know, that little thing you show me how to do with my baby, I use it all the time now.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it's just showing the patient, and showing with themselves, how do you teach someone to do TMJ release when they don't have the skills or the clinical background to do it? They have the body, it's their body. They
Yeah.
feel it,
Yeah.
show them the way, show them how to feel it. And that's the tool. Show them,
Mhm.
you know, just place your finger. If you can't reach up there, the tool has a little extra curve. Get the tool up there and just wait. Wait patiently, because your body will respond to it. And the feedback is incredible. We've
Mm.
used it now with over 800 patients.
Okay. Yeah.
And the feedback is incredible. But these little things that we give the patients, just hold the base of your foot, and just hold it there for a little while in this way. And then you will see what happens to the rest of your body. Those are skills that I think as clinicians, we owe to our patients to show them a little bit of how to look after themselves. I feel that that's important for moms to be acknowledged
Mhm.
for their uh, that gut feeling of a mom to be acknowledged. And fathers, gosh, some fathers have a strong gut feeling as well. I've seen some dads walk into the office and they're so in tune with their wives, so in tune with their families. And I sometimes make a family circle where they're actually holding each other, just a gentle hold. I'm not saying this is going to cure you. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, just you grab that shoulder and you grab this shoulder, just one hand behind and one hand on top, each of them in either side of the baby. And you see that family connecting, and that baby just, you know,
Yeah.
it's so calm. I'm sure you've seen it before.
Hmm.
But that is important to me to pass on a little bit of that to them, so they have tools at home to work with.
I think it's I'm sure in and of itself what you're gonna, so many places to go from here, but what you given, what you're building in and utilizing this tool already with like 800 people, and then how many more people it will help in and of itself, it will be wonderful. But I know, just like you said, thinking of the instances that I've seen and witnessed in my office with my people, we're so resonant. I think that I love the way you carry um, the regard for the family unit, the individual, the spirit within each one, and how related we are, and how I see my brief, example of that is just seeing a family come in, and whether I'm taking care of mom, dad, and one or two or three little ones, or and then the grandparent, so I see the generations, and I love getting all the generations in the room if they
Yeah,
are at the same time, or a nanny or a sibling or a
it's so
sister, an aunt and
powerful.
aunt, and seeing what happens when they all hold space for one another, and sometimes also seeing how that 10-year-old girl, if I find something on her and then I'm like, I think this is coming from you, and I talk to the mom, and then I'll go to the mom and I'll work on her body, and then the dad, I work on him, and I'm like, oh, you know what? That's from you. So I release fascia on him, and then I check the mom, and it's gone. It's released on her, and then the little one, it's
Very few clinicians can
mm,
understand that.
yeah. This is what
Very few clinicians.
I know that you know this. That's why I say it in a different way. Sometimes I
Yeah,
say it to explain and open up a world to people. But with you, I know like you've done this and held space for people that way. So this is why I know we could talk for 3 hours on that. But this is why
yeah,
I know that we need you to create these modules and these, just get, we need your warmth, we need your personality, we need your understanding, your empathy to be available as resources, so when people have this tool, they get you in this format to guide them, because there's so much that people, if given a nudge, a whole
yeah,
world will open up to them. But
yeah,
unless they get that nudge, like you said, they know it, but they need someone like you,
yeah.
like they need someone to say, and then they're like, oh my god, that's right.
It's
I see
and
that.
it is so wonderful. It's so wonderful when you have like the generations coming through your door, and then you do what you describe, because I do the same. I work
Mhm.
in the same way that you do, and
Mm.
I don't have a sequencing. People tell me, "Can you tell me your sequence?" I don't have it. It's not
Mhm.
mine. It's
Right,
theirs.
it's theirs. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
theirs. They tell
Yeah.
me what to do. Their bodies tell me what to do. Their energy tells me where to go.
Hmm.
And then you hold a space for that family, and then you step back and you see what goes on in there,
Yeah.
in that circle, in that unit. It is so powerful to witness. I do a annual 2 3 times a year annually. I do educationals for my team members. And we had an occasion where I had a friend of mine who's from Cuba, and he was an Olympic competitor many years ago, and now he trains sprinters in the UK, in Wimbledon. And he brought one of his sprinters to come and have some acupuncture with me. I do medical acupuncture as well.
Mm. Okay.
And it was a day where I was running a course, and he was in so much need. And I said, look, I'm not treating patients today, but if he really is desperate, tell him to come over. And if he doesn't mind, I will, take this opportunity to teach my team, to show them what happens when you make yourself available to your patient, and when you are then becoming in tune with your patient. And so I did an acupuncture session for him, and I started doing some platysma release. So I just
Ooh,
placed my hand,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
and he had some just a couple of points. I had the hands. I'm not sure those are the points, just in case there are people that are going to watch this that don't know acupuncture. But Li4, I had the hands, I had the head, and I had a couple of points um, in the chest as well. So I'm doing some platysma release for him, and I'm talking to the girls, to the team. I had 8 people around me. Bearing in mind that all of 8 of them are concentrating on the patient. Their
Mhm.
energy is on the patient. My energy is on the patient.
Yeah.
And I just said to them, we're going to be quiet for a little bit, and we're just going to wait for the body to do its thing. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to put gentle pressure on the chest, on the top part of the chest. I'm going to release a little bit, ask for the body to give me permission to do this. So I just placed my hand, and I just placed my hand on the chin and just very gently guided the chin up to give a little bit of extension. It was crazy. He was crying. He was,
Mhm.
you know, it started shaking and the girls were really like, they've never ever seen anything like that. It's what what is going on here? What's happening? And we ended very gently, and and then he opened his eyes, he sat down, and he said to me, I feel so light. He was crying, and he said to me, I've been crying. And I said, yeah, you were
Mhm.
crying. And he says, I feel so light. And I said to him, what do you think happened? And he said, I have no idea what happened, but I feel really light. And the girls were really surprised that he didn't know what happened. He just didn't know what had happened there. He doesn't recall crying. He doesn't recall
Wow. Mhm.
shaking. He doesn't
Yeah.
recall any of it. None of it.
Mhm.
And I think it's when we gather together with one purpose to help someone in that way, when our thinking and our energy is focused in helping someone, things magic happens. This is why I
Mm.
think this phrase, it takes a village, and we have that
Yeah.
collaboration. When
Mhm.
we have I love the team from the Breathe Institute and Dr. Sagi. I just love how they work, because I don't know whether they realize at the spiritual level and the energy level what actually they're doing is gathering together to focus on one human being, to help that person. That has so much power,
Yeah.
independently of whether you touch that person or not. I mean, what it does to us as humans, just to have so many people thinking about us, is so important. I said to my patients, don't think for a second that this is just me. There's a whole team behind you. Everybody's thinking about you. When we're treating you in my clinic, you have the breathing practitioner, you have the therapist who's delivering the exercises, you have me behind the scenes looking at everything, you have my clinical secretary, you have the person who puts your reports together. Everybody knows and thinks about you, and they're rooting for that next progress report to see improvements in you.
Mm.
That means a lot. That is
Yeah.
a lot. It carries a lot of strength and force. I feel anyway. That's just my take on that.
Yeah, I see it. I feel it. Like you said, the magic and the beauty, and the tapestry that happens in that space when you portrayed it with that
Mm.
one person. I was like, "Ooh, I'm there and I'm seeing it," and it's beautiful. And I love the way you talk about the community, the village, and so many things, which I want to go back to in a moment because there's just something about the the kaleidoscopic way in which you view life, you view healing, and interrelatedness is a really priceless, essential strand of humanity that we need. And Just to go back to what you were saying, with a good example of this with a village, it takes a village to raise children to be, and I know I'm here in the Bay Area, right, where I make my monthly trips, and I was just doing body work for Dr. Zagi for Sarush yesterday, and I have these long form sessions. We've been doing 90 minutes, for him for about a year ish. And then we've come down to an hour just because we've accomplished so much.
Yeah.
And I'm doing this in a way to help come alongside his other modalities, and then we collaborate. And I was just talking to Laylee, director of Breathe Institute,
Mm-hmm.
yesterday, and I know we know some of these people in common, which I know Diane Barr's post is
Mm-hmm.
what drew me to you. And then I know at the same event Joy Lance will be speaking. I mean, we have
Mm-hmm.
some beautiful people in common, and I think in that greater sense, those of us out there who are caring about people, we're holding a global space for people that are
Mm-hmm.
suffering from apnea, breathing, feeding. And I think you said it so well, that I think Laylee and her husband Chad and Jen, all these people who have created with Suresh and Kevin the Breathe Institute, they created this uh, drive towards trying to fully help people, and they
Yeah.
are this beautiful village, and they know that. And so, but I also see how, we need that, and then we also need that mentality and embodiment when we're with what I see Sarush do this a lot with little toddler he saw in the room yesterday, this little 3-year-old, and he fully comes alive and electric in his body. He engages himself somatically to tune
Mm-hmm.
into what this little boy needs, and he had him walk down the hall. He had me follow the boy to measure his hips. And I mean, I love Sarush in the way that he puts his whole being into what he does with each person that is before him. And I see you do that so much, because in one way, I think you can't help it. I
No.
think there's so much within you. I mean, you just said another thing you do with the acupuncture. I'm like, another thing? This is amazing. I think I like how many, of course, I know there's not a word that describes you in what you do. So I think that's the beauty. But I think, I get this sometimes too. I'd say, I think I told somebody I'm like a unicorn. I'm like a narwhal. I'd rather be a narwhal because that's like the unicorn of the sea. But you're like a person and a being who looks so multidimensionally. And in one way, I think this is so rare. But in another way, I think, but this is who we are. And this is
We
who
all
we
have it.
can be. This is who we
We
can
have it
be.
within us.
We have it within us, and how can we draw out from
Mm.
others this essence? And I know that's what you do. And so I think, of course, a healer is who you are. And then so many other, wonderful things. But I think you're right. We have this within us, and you see that you can help people evoke that potential within them. And I think that's kind of the corralling force that I know that is part of what guides you, is that this oneness, this connectivity we have, this collective consciousness. It's like, in one way, I can see that you care for people because we are them. There's no real boundary
Mm-hmm.
between us. However, we need our distinct selves. Of course, we need our distinct. We have to live in this world, and we're
Yeah.
metaphysical beings living in physical bodies, and we.
Yeah.
So I love that you've created, a very distinct tool to help people. But I also just love, that you have this undergirding, brilliant understanding, and you're a you know, thought leader in that way. And so, in the next few minutes, speaking of the Bay Area, I'll be going to see patients here in under an hour, that are waiting for me here. But I think I would love to just, kind of talk for, 16 more hours with you on different podcasts. But for the sake of today, to just kind of come to a close here. It's so hard to come to a close because I think there's so much to say. But I'd love for you to just, kind of help us go out with a message of like, what else do you want to share, and how would you want to imbue people who are listening? And we're probably going to have, anybody listening who follows us, but I know that there's going to be airway providers. I know there's going to be parents, and then I know there's going to be people who need what we're talking about. But let's just say, what do you feel like from within you, to speak to those people who are listening right now, whenever this is that they're watching and listening? Do you have anything to say to them, that to evoke that potential or to speak to their needs?
I think what I would like to leave people with is connect, connect with yourself, connect with one another, because we have the power within us to find the answers within ourselves. We do need those guides because we lose our way,
Mm-hmm.
don't we? So we do need those guides, and we need people such as yourself, such as Sarosh, such as all the wonderful myofunctional therapists out there, and other clinicians that can guide us. But ultimately, it has to come from us. So we
Mm-hmm.
need to connect with ourselves. Otherwise, we are constantly in that search for something that we don't even know ourselves what it is. So I sometimes say to the patients, just put your hand on your chest and see if you can find your heartbeat. Connect with
Mm-hmm.
yourself. Just a
Yeah.
few seconds. Just connect with
Mm-hmm.
yourself and just tell yourself, I'm here. I'm here for you. I'm looking after you.
Yeah. I
Because
love it.
we need to look after ourselves, you know? We need to really connect with ourselves. And once we do that, it's easier to then connect with others.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. So everybody out there, if you aren't already doing this, I'm just doing it too. Does Yuli let us in this that just, tap in, connect with yourselves and listen to your beat, if it's your heart, your whether it's pain that you are feeling in your bodies or whether it's joy, magnify that only for a moment and then look for the answer that you have within you and know that you have help. Reach out to us, reach out to people around you, but right within you, you have this heart that tells you you're alive, you're vital, you have the spark, and that if you can listen and you can feel and you can be, you're going to assuredly be more in your life and be more there for others. But hopefully we've been able to show you how much you have within you. So,
That's
boy,
beautiful. That was
mm,
beautiful. Well done.
well,
It's
you
really
let us
hard.
you let us in that. So, okay, well, whew, well, have a wonderful day, everybody that is tuning in, and we stop this recording here in a moment, and then we'll stay on just to chat for a couple minutes if that's okay.
Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thanks.